What do you get when you take away Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and the head coach Stephanie White from the Indiana Fever all at the same time? According to Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky, you get an easy win. They were completely wrong. Last night at the United Center, the Fever proved they're not just a one-woman show. Kelsey Mitchell dropped 17 points, Lexie Hull continued her hot streak, and new signing McDonald ran the offense like a veteran, with Aaliyah Boston and Natasha Howard also making big contributions. The result? The Fever didn't just win, they obliterated Chicago by 27 points, leaving Angel Reese and the Sky completely humiliated in front of their own fans. Picture this. You're walking into the United Center, the biggest arena in the NBA, and your team just lost a lot in a span of 2 weeks. Your superstar Caitlin Clark is sitting on the bench with a quad injury. Your fiery sixth woman Sophie Cunningham is out. Your head coach Stephanie White isn't even in the building, out with a personal matter. This was supposed to be disaster waiting to happen for the Indiana Fever. Well, Fever versus Sky isn't much of a rivalry, at least if you go by the results, because the Fever have dominated the Sky, and I guess you could say the Sky is falling, at least in the standings and around Chicago, considering that the situation with the team and the Fever faced their biggest test of the season on June 7th. Clark had already missed 3 straight games with that left quad strain, and the team had struggled without her magic on the court. They'd already dropped 2 of those 3 games, and now they had to walk into hostile territory without their best player. The pressure was building with every day Clark stayed sidelined. Then came the coaching bombshell. Stephanie White couldn't make the trip due to personal reasons, which meant first assistant Austin Kelly had to step up as acting head coach. Kelly had worked with White since 2012 and knew her system inside and out, but he'd never been in this spotlight before. The United Center holds over 21,000 fans for basketball, and this was the first WNBA game ever played in this iconic venue. Fans packed every single seat expecting to finally see their Sky dominate a weakened Fever team. This was their moment. The primetime CBS slot made it even bigger. Angel Reese and her teammates had been circling this date on their calendar since that brutal 35-point loss back in Indianapolis. They wanted revenge, and they thought they finally had the perfect chance to get it. The basketball world was watching to see if Indiana was really just Caitlin Clark plus 4 other players. Critics had been saying it for months. Take away Clark's 19 points and 10 assists per game, and what do you really have? The Sky had just won back-to-back games against Dallas and felt confident they could exploit this perfect storm of bad luck. Austin Kelly walked into the biggest coaching moment of his career. He'd been White's right-hand man, but now every decision was his to make. The offensive scheme stayed the same, but the leadership dynamic completely changed. Players who normally followed Clark's lead had to find their own voices. Here's what nobody saw coming, though. Sometimes when you lose your stars, you discover the true heart of your team. Sometimes adversity doesn't break you down. Sometimes it reveals exactly what you're made of. The stage was set for either complete disaster or the kind of statement win that changes everything. What happened next shocked everyone who thought they knew this Fever roster. When your best player goes down, someone has to fill that massive void. Who steps up tells you everything about a team's character. Kelsey Mitchell walked onto that court, knowing every eye would be on her to lead the scoring attack. The pressure was real, and everyone could feel it. Mitchell had been inconsistent this season, averaging around 15 points per game compared to last year's 19. Critics wondered if she could handle the pressure without Clark drawing all that defensive attention. Would she fold under the spotlight or rise to the occasion? Something beautiful happened right from the opening tip. Mitchell started cooking immediately, moving without the ball like a veteran should. She wasn't trying to be Caitlin Clark. She was being the best version of Kelsey Mitchell we've seen all year. The shots were falling. The confidence was building. Chicago had no answer for what they were seeing. Mitchell attacked the basket with purpose. She hit threes when the Sky gave her space. She found open teammates when they doubled her. This was veteran leadership at its finest. She finished with a team-high 17 points, leading a balanced attack that no Sky defender could contain. Every possession mattered and Mitchell delivered when it counted most. Here's where it gets interesting, though. Lexie Hull continued her breakout season with another clutch performance. Hull went perfect from 3-point range, hitting both of her attempts when the team needed them most. She had the highest plus-minus rating in the game again, proving her hot streak wasn't just luck. Hull has become the reliable shooter and defensive stopper this team desperately needed. But that's not all. Aaliyah Boston dominated the paint with 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. This was the complete two-way performance Boston fans have been waiting for since Clark went down with her injury. Boston also tied her career high with 5 blocks, altering shots and controlling the interior like a defensive anchor should. The ball movement was crisp throughout the night. The Fever recorded 20 assists on 27 made shots, showing incredible team chemistry. The shots were falling from everywhere. Chicago realized they weren't facing a weakened team at all. They were facing a deeper, more dangerous version of Indiana. This wasn't just about individual performances, though. This was about veterans refusing to let their team down when it mattered most. Mitchell, Hull, and Boston all stepped up in different ways. They shared the load. They trusted each other. They played like champions when their backs were against the wall. The supporting cast became the main characters, and they absolutely nailed their roles. Sometimes the most important addition to your team isn't the one everyone talks about. It's the one that quietly changes everything. McDonald was supposed to be just a late-season signing, a depth piece to help with rotations. The Fever signed her on June 1st as a hardship contract player. Nobody expected much beyond basic backup minutes. Running the offense without Caitlin Clark seemed impossible. Who could handle that kind of responsibility? The point guard position requires someone who understands the system, reads defenses, and makes quick decisions under pressure. McDonald had been with the team for less than a week. How could she possibly fill such a massive role? McDonald for 3, McDonald had a, McDonald with a steal, McDonald had a, McDonald drawing, offensive fouls, McDonald had a. Folks, what a glorious game. What a glorious game. But McDonald stepped into that point guard role like she'd been running the system for years, not weeks. She took control from the opening tip and never looked back. The confidence was there immediately. The decision-making was sharp. The execution was flawless under the brightest lights. She finished with 12 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, and a block. Those numbers don't tell the real story, though. McDonald hit 3 crucial three-pointers when the Fever needed them most. She scored in the paint against bigger defenders. She disrupted Chicago's offense with her active hands and quick feet. McDonald's presence allowed the entire offense to flow differently. The team got into their offensive actions further from the three-point line, which opened up the floor for everyone else. This created more space for Mitchell to operate. It gave Hull better looks from beyond the arc. It allowed Boston to work more effectively in the post. The Sky had no scouting report for this version of the Fever offense. It showed in their confused defensive rotations throughout the game. Chicago defenders didn't know how to guard McDonald's versatility. They couldn't predict her next move. She kept them guessing all night long. Austin Kelly's game plan was working perfectly because McDonald was executing it flawlessly. Kelly emphasized after the game that the team's best defense came from their offense. McDonald set that tone early and maintained it for 40 minutes. Her understanding of the game showed in every possession. Here's where it gets interesting. The newest Fever player became the catalyst for their most impressive win of the season. McDonald proved that basketball IQ matters more than familiarity with teammates. She made everyone around her better through smart play and unselfish basketball. This performance proved that great teams find ways to get better, even when they lose key pieces. McDonald's ability to step up and lead showed the depth of this Fever roster. They didn't just survive without Clark. They absolutely thrived with their newest weapon leading the charge. Remember May 17th in Indianapolis when Angel Reese thought she could get physical with Caitlin Clark? The Fever rolled to a 35-point victory that day. Clark dropped a triple-double with 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. Reese managed 12 points and 17 rebounds, but it didn't matter. The Fever absolutely destroyed Chicago that afternoon. This was supposed to be Chicago's revenge game. Their chance to prove that first blowout was just a fluke. The Sky wanted to show they could compete when it mattered. They had home court advantage. They had a sold-out crowd at the United Center. They thought they finally had their moment. Instead, the Sky got embarrassed even worse. A 27-point beatdown that left no doubt about which team was superior. Chicago shot a terrible 32.1% from the field. They were even worse from three-point range at just 20%. Not a single Sky player scored in double figures, not one. The Dallas Wings must really stink, because those are the 2 wins that the Chicago Sky have this year, and the Fever have absolutely blown the doors off of them in their matchups this season, including this time around without Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese just 2 of 7 from the floor, only 4 points. She's shooting like 31% from the floor on the year. The Minnesota Lynx own the Chicago Sky's draft pick. It is rough sledding for the Sky. The combined 62-point margin across both games this season tells the whole story about this rivalry. The Fever have completely owned Chicago in every possible way. Whether Clark plays or not, Indiana finds ways to dominate the Sky. The gap between these teams is massive. While Reese and her teammates struggled to score, the Fever were putting on a clinic in team basketball. Indiana shot 45.8% from the field and knocked down 11 three-pointers at a 40.7% clip. The ball movement was perfect. The execution was flawless. Every possession looked easy for the Fever. Chicago shot terribly, turned the ball over constantly, and looked completely outclassed on both ends of the floor. The Sky committed 19 turnovers that the Fever turned into easy points. Reese was limited to just 4 points on 2 of 7 shooting. She grabbed 12 rebounds, but her offensive impact was basically zero. The post-game celebration said everything you needed to know. Players were drenching Austin Kelly with water and pure joy. Even Caitlin Clark from the bench was celebrating and shouting support for her teammates. Clark's simple message captured the mood perfectly when she yelled, "Get a water," during the celebration. Meanwhile, the Sky faced the harsh reality that they can't compete with Indiana whether Clark plays or not. Courtney Vandersloot got hurt in the first quarter, making their night even worse. The home crowd watched their team get completely dominated in their own building. This wasn't just a win. It was a statement that the Fever's dominance over Chicago is complete and total. The revenge was served colder than a Chicago winter, and it tasted absolutely perfect. Indiana proved they own this rivalry no matter who's on the court. This victory proved the Indiana Fever aren't just Caitlin Clark plus 4 other players. They're a legitimate championship-caliber team with depth, heart, and the kind of chemistry that wins titles. Kelsey Mitchell showed she can lead when it matters. Lexie Hull keeps hitting shots when the team needs them. McDonald proved depth signings can change everything. The 2025 season suddenly looks even brighter when you realize this team can dominate without their best player on the court. The supporting cast stepped up big time at the United Center. If you're not excited about what this Fever team can accomplish when everyone's healthy, you haven't been paying attention to what just happened in Chicago.